welcome into Bears.
You gotta power through these things.
Anthony Herron staring me down with his.
We know what day it is. It's All Hallows Eve. Dia de los Muertos. It is Halloween. Yes, I'm festive. I'm in the mood. Got the glasses. Got the what are these? These are the trick socks. We're ready, man. It's a holiday.
It's the holiday. Lou and I forgot, but
Bah humbug.
Yeah, right. We
leave
don't
it
know
to
only
Big
fun one
Ant
on
to
set.
dress up for Halloween. I don't know. What are you dressed as? Like
An enormous Bears analyst, I guess. I got the orange rocking. You know, I'm prepared for all possible scenarios today between the glasses, the sock, the shirt. I don't know if there's one necessary costume that I'm prepared in, but I'm just ready for the day.
you're ready for the day. Well,
Yes.
hopefully the Bears are ready
There
for
we
all
go.
possible scenarios on
Emmy-worthy
Sunday
segue right
against
there.
the Bengals. All right, now we can do a proper intro since we got the laughs out of the way. Welcome into Bears Blitz, brought to you by IGS Energy. That's why I was laughing. I'm Cassie Carlson alongside Luke Canellis and Anthony Herron. Anthony loves holidays, so he's always dressed festively
Every
for
time.
them and appropriately. Lou and I just frankly don't care. Not my favorite holiday. I'm not going to lie.
I'm with you, Cassie.
I'm not dressing up. You're not going to catch me in a costume on camera. The Bears packing their bags for Cincinnati. They want to get back in the win column, and what a prime opportunity to go 5-3 coming off that loss against the Ravens last
Man,
week.
they need to make it happen. This is a game that they must win. Second half of the schedule, especially the last 6 games, so difficult for this team. And the Bears don't have to worry about a scary opponent with Joe Burrow at quarterback. They've got Joe Flacco. Everything, in my opinion, other than the running back position, and we'll talk about that coming up, everything at least looking like it's in favor of the Bears.
And we felt like that a little bit last week as well, right, versus Baltimore. We saw the way that the Bears weren't able to execute at a high level against the Ravens in certain phases of the game, and so now it's an opportunity to respond. An opportunity especially to focus in for this football team and to have the proper focus to be able to get the job done. Yes, it matters a lot because we've been talking about, I know, I'm impacting the focus on the set right now, but it matters so much because the critical moments, those small details are where the Bears have come up short a few different times here because we've seen them drive the football, we've seen them be near the quarterback, but we just experienced the first time in well over a month that the Bears haven't taken the football away with volume, and that set the team back a little bit. And so everyone has to step their focus up.
Well, the big news at Hallis Hall this week is the signing of defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He led the lead in interceptions in 2022. He had 6 that year, had 6 again last year when he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. He's now going to be brought into the mix midseason with familiarity of Dennis Allen's scheme, but he comes with some on-the-field things that Bears fans know of because of the history of getting 2 receivers ejected from games back in 2020. Do you feel like this was worth the gamble now that he's on his 3rd team this season because of the long injury report and his ability to play slot corner, which he will with Kyler Gordon on IR?
So here's my question. What's the gamble? I mean, really, this is a secondary that needs help right now with Kyler Gordon out. They need a guy who can play the slot, a guy who can play safety if needed. And he joins a roster with veterans. This was the concern that I had when they had the opportunity to go out and select Jalen Carter in the draft. They didn't have veterans. They didn't have leaders on this team, on this roster. He's got a leader in that defensive secondary alongside Kevin Byard. He's got a guy up front in Grady Jarrett. Hey, if he goes off the deep end and he goes out and he's swinging at opponents and flags are dropping because of him on the football field, then you yank him. And you don't play him anymore. And if you need to, you cut him like the Ravens did.
That's the main aspect of any concern I have because he is a very capable talent on the football field. We've seen him make plays in the National Football League, but for a team that penalties have been such an issue for, that's where adding a player like this into your locker room, it certainly matters. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, yes, there's a pre-existing history with the Bears from previous matchups in years past, but for him in coming in, you would hope perhaps in a similar fashion to Tyreek Stevenson, where we've seen an enhanced focus and detail from the way that he's played as a corner for the Bears. The feistiness is always welcome on a defense, but drawing that fine line between how you're getting after the opponent versus maybe setting your team behind the chains and picking up some sort of an inopportune flag. We've already seen this team. Now, it's more so been offensively pre-snap, but penalties have really harmed the Bears at times this season.
Yeah, let's listen to the Bears' response of learning that C.J. Gardner-Johnson was joining this locker room.
Like going on about the guy. I'm just appreciative to be here, man. Like, he didn't. A lot of opportunities have came, but this probably was the best one for me. I'm just coming in to add extra fire, extra skill to the back end. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate Coach Al and DA.
I think he's a highly competitive player. I think he goes out there and competes on every single play. He brings a little attitude to the football team, which I think is good.
Because they bring a certain level of juice, you know what I mean? Like, this game is played violently. You need somebody to go in there and kind of be that spark, the history of this city, Chicago Bears, Dennis Rodman. Like, sometimes you need guys like that out there.
You have a history of Dennis Rodman and working alongside him when you were the sideline reporter for the Bulls, and you saw the spark that he brought and brought an identity to that team. And the Bears clearly feel like he's a talker. And I loved what Jaquan Brisker said. He said, you know, we have myself, we have Tyreek Stevenson, and now we have C.J. Gardner-Johnson all in that back end to get in receivers' heads. And the reality is this week they especially need him when they're going to go up against Ja'Marr Chase, who is Joe Flacco's favorite target and one of the best receivers in the league.
What I also saw was that Michael and Scotty kept Dennis Rodman in place, and there was a respect that Rodman had for those two guys in Phil Jackson, where he did not allow himself to go off the deep end where it would hurt the whole team, and I think that's going to happen with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Listen, Ja'Marr Chase is one of, if not the best wide receiver in football. That game against Pittsburgh, 16 catches, I think it was a career high for him, a team record in that game as well for $161. What I love is he's playing with a guy like Joe Flacco, who knows where he knows who's going to butter his bread.
Yeah.
And it's this guy. Get him the football, throw it to him if you have to 54 times over a 3-game period, because he's going to get it into the end zone as much as well as anyone else on that roster.
And I think it's probably worth remembering as well, just for this particular matchup, where if Joe Flacco, for some reason with the shoulder injury, if he can't finish the game, Jake Browning hasn't played well this season, but you look at last year, he was viewed as one of the top backup quarterbacks in the sport because of some of the starts he got when Joe Burrow was injured last season. And we just saw the Bears last week against a backup quarterback stepping in. And I was telling you guys last week what I'd seen from Tyler Huntley calling his games in college, seeing what he had done against the Bears previously in his career. And Jake Browning is certainly capable of something like that, a very controlled performance, and now getting to witness what Joe Flacco did and making sure that he's getting the football targeted to the main target out there. And Tee Higgins is maybe the best combination, really enhances the way the Bengals can operate, having that two-headed monster for them on the outside between Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins. So the Bears have a lot of issues to be able to worry about from the opposing offense. And oh, by the way, Cincinnati's really running the rock well lately, too.
Yeah, let's talk about the run game. Chase Brown, the ability to get that run game going so they're not one-dimensional. And then you look at Joe Flacco being able to step in, learn this offense quickly at 40 years old and still be able to sling it. And he has this offense now averaging almost 30 points per game in his 3 starts. What have you noticed of the way Flacco has been able to carry this team? And mind you, Flacco is a quarterback who came in late in the season to Cleveland 2 years ago and went out and beat the Bears.
He's an 18-year veteran. He has seen everything on the football field. He knows who his 2 main guys are. You touched on it. Higgins will go deep. You've got it to Ja'Marr Chase inside. And what I love about Flacco is he spreads the football around to those 2 guys. And he's a guy that he sits in the pocket. He's not going to take off with the football. He's going to find the open guy. And you have to appreciate what he's done. I looked back. This guy's only had one 4,000-yard passing season throughout his entire 18-year career. So it's not like, he's putting up huge yardage numbers. He's taking advantage of the talent that's been given to him in that Bengals squad.
And this is as quick as Joe Flacco's ever gotten the football out of his hands. When you look at him getting to this stage in his career, he recognizes what it means to just sort of be a point guard. And I referenced that run game at Chase Brown, former Illini great Samaje Perine. You've got 2 backs who are still sort of in the infancy, kind of in the prime physically of their careers, and they've been a huge part in recent weeks of what Cincinnati's been able to do. So not only do you have this veteran QB, but you have multiple backs that the Bears will have to contend with, and they've got to make sure that run defense is as shored up as it's ever been.
And one thing that Dennis Allen said about Joe Flacco at 40 years old, he can still sling that ball, and the other thing is that you're not going to outsmart him, and you have to be disciplined, especially in the secondary.
When they see your name, what do you want them to attach to that name and when they think of you?
Just a living testament of perseverance and believing in himself. I think, like I said, every stage of my career there's been some obstacle or doubt that's been attached to me, and I feel like I've overcome each one, and I don't plan to stop now.
You can catch my full conversation with Bears rookie running back Kyle Monangai on our Fox 32 Chicago digital platforms and Sunday morning on Bears Game Day Live from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And he is going to be the center of attention on offense because DeAndre Swift is out in this game with a groin injury. It's something Ben Johnson talked about that he's been managing really before the Washington Commanders game, and it caught up to him. And when you think about the entirety of the season, you definitely want to have your best running back down the stretch. But for Kyle Monangai, he's seen the carries go up week after week. And as a rookie, he's seemingly earned a lot of trust with this coaching staff to be able to get him the rock.
He had his best game against the Saints, 81 yards out there. And I had the feeling that DeAndre Swift was really hurting because the Bears didn't use him in the first half as much as I anticipated they were going to against the Ravens. So, hey, rookie, 7th rounder, it's your turn. Step up.
And to be able to see the offense still trust the running back position, that's going to be a key going into this game. You would imagine there'll be others who have to pick the slack up, not only the offensive line stepping their game forward, but just the running back group. Because coming into the season where we knew DeAndre Swift was the main proven commodity they had in the backfield, a lot of us wondered, how will the touches be split up? How will the opportunities in game end up being divided amongst them? And now Kyle Monangai. And I agree, Lou, not only the Saints, but even some opportunities against Baltimore as a pass protector. That's what I've noticed as much as anything. Some of those early struggles back in the preseason and even in early regular season action when Monangai got in the game looked sort of out of sorts as a pass protector. And that's where a lot of the discussion about the Bears offense, it certainly centers around the quarterback, and for understandable reasons, but everyone, not only the rookies like Monangai, but a lot of guys in this Bears offense still learning on the job with the Ben Johnson system. And I'm seeing Monangai really pay some dividends now in pass pro as well.
No Roschon Johnson either, so does that mean more snaps? I mean, snaps period for Travis Homer, who himself spent some time out.
Or maybe they elevate someone off the practice squad, too. They have guys like Britton Brown there that they could do as well. I think this is something that we're definitely going to have to monitor going into this game.
What about DJ Moore?
Well, I don't know that that's worked so much. I feel like it hasn't really been his best skill set. And I think when you talk about DJ Moore, you want to see him more in the screen game and the ability to get those yards after catch. But I think you look at the Bengals defense and the fact that it is the league's worst defense, and that gives you a positive sign where maybe they will be able to stick to the run game, establish that early with Monangai, and then build off the passing game in that. I think the bigger question is, can they eliminate the penalties? Because it has hindered this team each and every week. They were averaging 9.1 penalties per game. That's one of the worst in the league right now. And after the Baltimore game, Ben Johnson really just put it on the veterans, saying the coaching staff has tried all it can do to try and shore up the penalties, whether it be in practice or in games. And for some reason, they can't figure it out. Now he's putting it on the locker room. And this week, it continued to be an emphasis.
They're as fed up with it as everyone is in the building. And so they understand it's just not what good football teams do. And I think they're going to take ownership of it. I think we're going to be just fine.
A part of this position is making sure everybody either understands the situation, and if they don't, providing the urgency with my tempo, my energy, all those different things in those moments.
For me personally, making sure the tight end room is right, and us taking care of our stuff in there, and I know the leaders in the other position groups are going to do the same, and hold our guys accountable within the rooms. And I think if each guy does that within the receiver room, tight end room, O-line room, we're going to like the result that we get from that.
Bears offensive coordinator Declan Doyle said they started doing some unorthodox things at practice, but wouldn't say exactly what that meant. Then Rome Odunze said they were actually pumping up the crowd noise to try and get this down. Big Ed, I want to go to you as someone who's been in the NFL. How do you come up with consequences for a thing like penalties to make sure that players understand the importance of not having them in a game?
Consequences are sort of a tricky thing because in some ways it indicates like there's not effort being put in, but the focus obviously has to show up more. But I've been on teams where after there's a penalty, someone jumps off sides in practice and you immediately start to do push-ups in the moment. Or perhaps there's even like a little, fine bucket afterwards, for players who maybe have an infraction or even dropping an interception. There are things like that players will do just for that additional layer of accountability. But as much as anything, because especially we're talking about offense and some of these pre-snap infractions, what it says to me is beyond the quarterback, that we've seen them on the offensive line, the tight end position, the running backs. These are just a lot of guys who are thinking as they break the huddle and approach the line of scrimmage. And that thought, if you get a late stem, a shift, from the opposing defense and you're not completely locked in and are comfortable with your assignment, then those can be the things that end up having you flinch, or if you know everyone is saying the cadence is going to be that it's on 2 and you move on that first sound because your brain is trying to figure out what is my assignment on this play, or the defense moved here, and when they shift, you're not completely certain what you're going to do. That's where this tends to show up a lot in the volume of the Ben Johnson offense. I believe it's not just the Bears QB, but a lot of these other players in the position groups getting more and more comfortable with the system.
Big A, Declan Doyle said unorthodox drills, unorthodox things. Would something like, hey, if you commit a penalty out there, man, you got to buy lunch for all of your teammates.
Is that what you would want?
Would that inspire, but seriously, would that inspire a player to make sure he does not commit a flag out there?
I think those are the types of things where if you do it in a way that's fun to a certain extent, but does put an additional focus on it, it gives you that opportunity to still have it be a light moment amongst teammates, while also saying this is truly a point of emphasis that we all have to maximize.
One thing I'm going to be looking out for, we mentioned the Bengals' league worst defense. They also have the league's worst red zone defense. And we know the Bears have struggled, going 5 of 16 in the last 13 games. And while Ben Johnson said he felt like Caleb Williams actually played better against the Ravens than he did the week before against the Saints, I think that's a huge point of growth that we need to see from this offense. What do you want to see from Caleb Williams in this offense, specifically knowing the matchup and the defense they're going to face?
Obviously, when the field shrinks for Caleb Williams, he struggles out there once he gets into the red zone. Whatever happened to throwing to the tight end? All right, the Bears just have not thrown to the tight end this year, and I can't figure it out. And I think it is it's an opportune time to find that man in the middle of the football field, whether it's Cole Kmet or Colston Loveland, once you get inside the 20. I looked at Kmet's numbers. I mean, man, he's got 7 catches so far through 7 games. Cole Kmet has averaged 58 catches a season. You drafted Colston Loveland, number 10, that high because of his ability to catch the football. Use these guys once you get in the red zone.
I completely agree. And we know the creativity that Ben Johnson possesses as a play caller. So to be able to call your quarterback into some movement in the red zone, get him on the go, allow him to maybe outflank the defense, and get them in the second reaction mode, even in a called play sort of variety. Would love to see more of that in the red zone, because it has been a little bit more of a straight downhill run or Caleb Williams from the pocket. And yes, the pocket is moving on occasion as well, but I think that's one of those things that can take a bit of the mental pressure off of the entire offense, the offensive line and the QB, to tell Caleb, yeah, it's okay. We're going to call you into some movement on this play, and maybe it even ends up being like a tight end throwback sort of situation where you move to one side of the field and throw it back across to the other once you get the defense off balance. Because to your point, Cass, it's a Bengals defense, and I don't tend to say these things lightly, they're just not good. They have not performed well on that side of the football. They haven't tackled well. They haven't hit blocks well up front. They don't fit the run well. They haven't covered well on the back end. Now, these things are subject to change in the National Football League, especially as young as they are at the second and third level. But Bears got to capitalize on this. There's some opportunities that show up on film against Cincinnati.
Yeah, one of the main things we keep hearing from the locker room is somehow we got to get those field goals 3 points into 7 points. And I feel like that has been highly emphasized the past 3 weeks, especially this week going into Cincinnati. The good news, it's looking like they won't have to worry about Trey Hendrickson. He is doubtful going into Sunday. So not going to have to worry about that edge rusher and Caleb Williams, whose sack numbers are down, and we want to keep it that way. Welcome back to Bears Blitz. Our player to watch is brought to you by IGS Energy. Lou,
I'm riding with them, Cassie. I am riding with Caleb Williams this week. I thought he blew an opportunity last week against a bad Ravens defense. Now he's up against the worst again in the NFL. He will have plenty of opportunities. I know his head coach loves the explosive plays. I want to see some of the short passing game. Get the ball into the hands of the playmakers.
See your receiver, hit your receiver, spook up, big
That's right. It's time to go. Let's get this offense rolling.
We'll see you Sunday on Bears Game Day Live.